The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy and back in California, this is the ForceCenter podcast feed. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And we are here to look at Star Wars news, breaking news, or news we might have missed and have yet to talk about here on the podcast. It's breaking news from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, a.k.a. the Excel Center in London. This is kind of a catch-up episode, but also there's some things, like we had said, we did not get a chance to talk about or discuss on the celebration shows we did on location in London. And plus, you know, there's a third important opinion and perspective around here that we want to talk to Jennifer about the news as well. So before we get to all that, and yes, I don't want to speak for Joseph. I'm still having trouble understanding what I'm supposed to do now that I'm back from travel, vacation, surreal, lost in sort of a wonderful never land of dreams over there in Paris and London. So bear with me as I stumble through how to podcast again. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player, or any other device you can make it work on. That's just my addition. That is the Audible, but the other A we have up here is a very fun one, an important one, and it's, we're getting close to reaching a big goal, Joseph. What is our current ask?
Our current ask is all about Patreon. My personal ask of myself is to get through this promo without my voice cracking as I recover from travel. You are not alone, Ken. Jennifer also traveled, and her voice sounds great. We need to know your secrets, Jennifer. Anyway, back to the ask. We have been asking for more support on Patreon recently. We have really realized that over the years, that has always been the most solid and consistent support that we need to keep the podcast going. And it comes from all of our listeners and watchers and friends on Patreon. We've got a couple of great things coming up. We have been doing the Indiana Jones and the Perilous podcast. We're experimenting with Other Center, where we cover some things that aren't Star Wars. Right now, this Indiana Jones series is just on Patreon. After Dial of Destiny comes out, it will be available to everybody. But our big episode discussing Raiders of the Lost Ark is coming on Monday, May 1st. So if you want to join before then, you can get access to that. Also, this Friday, we're doing a live stream for patrons of a special Star Wars ranked episode. So a couple of exciting things coming soon on Patreon. And we are very close, as Ken said, to a goal. We set a farther out goal than we normally do, because we really wanted to reach this number to see if it was possible, if we dared to dream. And the answer is yes. We are almost at our goal of $2,000 a month, at which point Jennifer is going to take some of her older episodes of ForceCenter that are these great deep dives with humor and insight that we discuss and describe as NPR meets Star Wars, and turn those old audio episodes into shiny new YouTube shows. We are very, very close to that goal. So if you want to help make that magic happen, you can check out patreon.com/ForceCenter. Did I leave anything out, Ken?
You nailed that. Just like that restaurant Upper Crust nails long sandwiches in London. All right. You nailed it. So we're going to catch up, but the catch up is also some, it will flow into the news, I think. But we do have to start with you, Jen. Yeah, we've been able to sit down and record, Joseph and I, in our hotel room. And actually, it was Joseph's hotel room, and we thank him publicly for clearing table space and catch up. I did go to Paris. Joseph and Sarah went to another part of merry old England to have a wonderful adventure. But Jen, you traveled as well, and you were around when the con was on, but that doesn't mean necessarily you had a chance to sit and watch it all. The time difference made that difficult as well. Let's catch up with you. How did Star Wars find you? Did you get through all your trips? Because yes, your voice sounds better than ours.
Yeah, I've had some time to adjust. I went on a trip with my children, which means it was a trip, not a vacation. But it was fun. We went to Hawaii with family, and it was interesting because I was so discombobulated from the time change from California, and then trying to keep up with what was happening with Celebration. I really was out of it, and I'm like, when are these panels happening? And it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'll catch up when I get home. And I made a joke on Instagram. I really was like, I was kind of sad that I was missing out on Celebration. I enjoyed seeing everyone's adventures and seeing you guys and Molly and Alex having so much fun. But I was there and I'm like, well, I'm just going to have a lot of waffles. There were delicious waffles, Mai Tais. So yes. Yeah. I drowned my sorrows by eating waffles and Mai Tais.
I might do that later today here in Los Angeles somehow.
I highly recommend it. It's effective. But yeah, so I was able to catch up on everything, thankfully, when I came back. And boy, I was like, well, what are they going to talk about? I was so wrong. There was a lot of news that came out.
Yeah, our big question of are they going to talk about the movies or not was resoundingly answered. Jennifer, did you have any Star Wars adventures in Hawaii along with the waffles and Mai Tai? Did you have any Star Wars encounters or memories?
I didn't. I tried, and there was a cab driver who was very nice, and I think I had something Star Wars. He was like, he was telling me about this woman who makes these bags, and I was like, is there anywhere? I was trying to think if they've shot anything Star Warsy in Hawaii. No, they shot Lost in Hawaii, Jurassic Park, obviously, but yeah, not a lot. So I sought it out, and I could not find it there. Yeah, that was too bad. But my daughter found my Bib Fortuna action figure, my 3-year-old, and my Princess Leia action figure, and she was doing an epic battle. I didn't want to disturb her, as I was like watching out of the corner. She was putting Bib Fortuna in hot lava. He had fallen. Ray had pushed him into the hot lava. Oh, yes. I was like, well, maybe she has seen some of the Revenge of the Sith scene. I don't know, but it was hilarious.
Yeah. Good decision. Not wrong.
Can we book her for figure fights for our YouTube show?
I was like, this is a real good scene happening here.
Love that.
Yeah, that was it for me.
Love it. Well, yeah, Star Wars did not find me in Paris. Not that it isn't loved there. I mentioned a couple times while talking with some wonderful locals there that why we had been in London, and then there's some like, oh yeah, Star Wars, but that kind of was the end of the conversation, which was refreshing at the time. I think I can't even remember how detailed I talked about it, Joseph, on our Mandalorian chapter 23 review, but I had gone at such great lengths to mute it. And I do recall telling the story, but to mute the word Mandalorian, to kind of mute the word Star Wars, because I couldn't get to the episode. And it was almost spoiled on a plane, as I said on the episode yesterday. But so I think that put me in a Star Wars list bubble for a few days, which again is refreshing. Star Wars is a big part of our lives here. At times it can be working and work in a wonderful way. Well, Joseph and I, really put the pedal to the floor there at the convention center and did a lot of wonderful work. But it was kind of nice. So happy to say Star Wars did not find me for a couple of days, which means I was able to return, land, watch Mandalorian, and get way back into Star Wars. I've been also watching the Star Wars live stuff from Celebration that I missed, and great interviews. Just watched the Leslie Headland one this morning with Kristen Baver, and it's wonderful. The Tony Gilroy, Diego Luna one is wonderful as well. And I just didn't get a chance to see this stuff. So Star Wars is racing back in.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't had a chance yet to watch some of those interviews. We're gonna talk about all sorts of news, and some of it was like, I'm aware that trailer happened or that person said that thing, but I have not been able to see it. And it's so weird to be in the middle of Celebration. You're like in the middle of the storm, and like I didn't see that one particular tree fall over. I was in this part of the storm. A weird metaphor because it's a joyful thing, but it is like you're in the middle of a storm. Star Wars Adventures did stay with me. I don't know how much of that was a choice or just life. We went from London at Star Wars Celebration. We went to Nottingham first, which is a place in England that I have wanted to go to for years and years because my aunt did some research and discovered that our Scrimshaw family line, and I think just about all Scrimshaws that ended up in Canada in the Midwest and California seem to have come from one or two lines in Nottingham.
Wow.
That's crazy.
When my aunt first figured that out, I was like, wait, Nottingham, Sherwood Forest. You mean the place Robin Hood is from? We're from Robin Hood land. So it's always been a place I've wanted to go. And it ended up being a really interesting experience because I went right from the thrill and the fun and the exhaustion of Star Wars Celebration to like, why am I in Nottingham again? Oh, to kind of define myself. You know, that kind of Star Wars question of, is there, you know, a part of you in the places that you come from in the culture? So the very specific Star Wars experience that I had there is we got a nice hotel, which was right by the Nottingham Castle. And right by the castle, the city has put up a big statue of Robin Hood. And I don't know how much a local of Nottingham would find it to be true, but Nottingham does pride itself on a history of social justice, of being involved in the kind of socio-political issues that Robin Hood was a hero of. You know, it's easy for us to just hear like, oh yeah, we know the story. He robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. But if you put that in a modern context, that's a strong issue about economic realities and about the treatment of those in power to the common people, and Robin Hood being a noble who's like, our people aren't doing right by the day-to-day people. And there's a statue, but then there's all this sort of there's these signs connecting the legend of Robin Hood to the soul of Nottingham and to modern rights movements throughout the decades. And even right now, they've got signs plastered all over Nottingham of like, we are going to be carbon zero by 2028. And you walk by that, go like, oh yeah, far off future year of 2020. You're like, oh, that's 5 years from now. So I was kind of just immersed in that. That was like the first thing we saw. And then we were walking to go explore downtown, and we passed a Forbidden Planet. And if anybody doesn't know, Forbidden Planet is it's a chain throughout the UK. They got a big mega store in London. I didn't know they had a branch in Nottingham, so I popped in and I had yet another of my great finding Luke Skywalker moments. I won't repeat the story because I've told it on ForceCenter many times, but I've had multiple turn the corner, didn't expect to see Luke Skywalker action figure. And it was moving because it was I'm always excited to find a Luke Skywalker action figure. It was one that I haven't found on this shelf, which is the Imperial light cruiser from his appearance in End of Mandalorian season 2. Nice. But he's in the package with the hood up, and I had been thinking on the walk and talking with my wife Sarah about sort of how heroes are crafted for their time and what do they mean to the people, and if a new hero is coming out, why is it a hero of the time, and who needs to see that hero and be inspired by them. And I walked in and I saw Luke, my childhood hero, with the hood up like Robin Hood. And it was like this weird direct line between this ancient history of Robin Hood to this modern but getting more ancient every day history of Luke Skywalker. And it was just it was so it was moving because, hey, my new Luke Skywalker toy, but also getting to the heart of that idea of these stories matter, and they're going to continue to matter. And after all these years, to have even a fresh way to look at Luke Skywalker myself was like very moving, and kind of connected the dots of all of my adventures.
It's a great tale. I feel guilty for just enjoying a ham and cheese crepe.
I also did a lot of that. The endless search for martinis in London is in the UK in general is a whole other story. Yeah. So that was great, and it was really fun throughout the London trip. But when we were in Nottingham for a couple of days, went back to London, went to the massive Forbidden Planet in London, and I told Sarah like 10 minutes. I just got to check. I was in there for an hour. They have the wall that we all talk about. I posted on the ForceCenter Twitter, like a wall of Star Wars figures, in a Forbidden Planet employee feverishly pushing past the children and the adults to restock the shelves with fresh figures. It really was like am I dreaming?
Yeah. Just 1983. That's beautiful. Beautiful stuff. No, it was a great time over there. Just when I had a chance to do a wrap-up episode, but just want to once again shout out all the wonderful ForceCenter friends we met in person, and the wonderful. I call them our United Nations of Discord. Andrew, Greer, Mark, and Ilka, who we met a few times, but also hung out at the comedy show afterwards at the Harrison Pub, and just meeting those kind of faces. And Liam Tobbs, Tommy Valentine, so many other ones. Lydia was there with her husband and brother, and every conversation was wonderful and warm, and some really sincere words. I mean, you guys kind of brought tears to my eyes, and I know affected Joseph as well. Just saying heartfelt messages of not just the show, but the community you all helped build. So it was a ton of fun, and sometimes you got to pack it up and put the emotions in a box and try to move on. And that's the post celebration haze. Sometimes you all get in, but you all made it so wonderful. So thank you all.
Yeah. But we should be sure to deliver those words to Jennifer. There's so many people at Celebration, Jennifer, who talked about the impact of having a fun and positive place to celebrate Star Wars, to critique it and say our favorites, but also just to enjoy it and celebrate it, and want to make sure that message gets to you too.
That's wonderful. That's why I love chatting with you guys and chatting with all of you, online. That's Star Wars is a wonderful, wonderful community, contrary to what some may say.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's look at some Star Wars news. Let's look at Star Wars Celebration, the big headlines. And again, Joseph and I, we did cover these. We covered these in our hotel room there, but it also, a little bit of time, a little bit of rest, and to look back, it's valuable for us to revisit the stories. But Jen, we absolutely want to get your takes. I will confess some behind the scenes off mic information. I was so exhausted when I tried to put together this rundown. So we're gonna have maybe a little more loosey goosey news discussion than we do in other parts. But for the first part of the episode here, we're gonna do Celebration News recap. Part 1, big headlines, and what did Jen think? The first one out of the gate, I think the main event news. There were so many wonderful things, trailers and everything like that. But when it comes to Star Wars, movies are important, and we know now that we got 3 films in 3 eras. James Mangold will write and direct a story about the dawn of the Jedi. Filoni will bring a big cinematic event from the Mando-verse into the New Republic era. We're going to talk about that. We got some questions coming in, I think, on the Q&A episode this week, too, about that, about what that truly means. And then Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy will go 15 years into the future with the new Jedi Order. And, Daisy Ridley walks on stage, and we know it's going to feature Rey Skywalker. So that's some big stuff. Jen, Joseph, and I had a chance to, talk a lot about it, but we want to start with your thoughts on this.
This was shocking to me. I thought we would maybe get some, graphics, maybe a title, but I did not expect these directors to come out on stage. And this was one where I was actually really confused because I saw pictures of Daisy Ridley on the stage. I'm like, oh, how nice that she made an appearance at Celebration. And then I'm like, what? She's coming back for a move? What? That was shocking. I mean, we've been talking about this Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy project that was originally Damon Lindelof's project as well for a while now. Never did I imagine that it was going to be about the new Jedi Order. That was surprising. I think it's going to be challenging, I'll be honest, because I think the challenge is to not revisit familiar ground, right? Because we're going to see Rey, doing what she's training, whatever, new students. If the antagonist is one of Rey's students, well, that feels a little too close to Kylo Ren, right? And Luke. So that storyline. So it will be interesting to see who is the antagonist. Where is the conflict going to come from? This could be one of the challenges why maybe Damon Lindelof felt like he couldn't make it work, or maybe he just was like, what, my work is done. I've done my part and I need to do other things. We obviously don't know. But then I started thinking about it more and I'm like, you know what? This is actually a very smart business decision because Star Wars needs to come back into the theaters. It needs to make a lot of money. It needs to make it, put a stake in the ground saying Star Wars is back theatrically, right? And a smart way to do that is to have Rey and Daisy Ridley, a fantastic character, a beloved character, a story. Everyone loves the Jedi. or not, right? And I think it's setting itself up for success. That's what I think. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm excited for lots of things, but this is the thing I'm most excited about because I love Rey, but because I love the Jedi. But it's also the way that Sharmeen Obed-Chinoy teed it up in the panel, helped to address some of the things that you're talking about, Jennifer. Maybe and maybe that's just it was a good spin, and maybe those challenges will be there, but she really teed it up as like, hey, 15 years later, a great Jedi Master is starting a new Jedi Order, and there are going to be forces of oppression and hate. I'm really paraphrasing here. You can look up the actual quote, but massive paraphrasing. But the spirit was basically there are always going to be groups who don't want a new group of defenders of freedom and justice to rise, and they're going to try to crush it because they think it shouldn't exist. So the way she described it was really external, and also for me, given her background as a documentary filmmaker, talking about real world injustice and the forces that always want to stop change and progress, and hey, a woman leading that change and progress in the form of Rey. She teed it up as this kind of classic. That's to me what Star Wars is about, is oppression's always going to try again. And oppression doesn't want bold, kind freedom fighters to exist like Rey. That made me so excited because it and then just as a form of theater, she was like, do you want to meet the Jedi Master? And everybody's like, yeah.
Oh, that's right. I saw that. Yeah.
It was so powerful. So I think for me, it seems like there is such a fresh perspective. And I even kind of started to wonder of like, did we all get distracted by the way this was reported? Because it was reported initially as the Lindelof team, the Lindelof-led team, and it's Lindelof's team's idea, and they've attached this director. But the way she came out was like, yeah, Lindelof wrote a script, whatever, and it was a draft. This is my baby. This is my vision. I know what I want it to be, and it's fresh, and it's from my perspective. It made me feel like, okay, this is going to be something different. And final thing I'll say, and I'll pass the old armor talking hammer. There's so much to be excited about for me about this new, a big theatrical event film like this, because it's Rey in her prime. The Skywalker sagas are coming of age stories. Luke comes of age, Rey comes of age, Anakin comes of tragedy, but they're becoming what you're going to be. And this idea that we're going to have a main event Star Wars film that is basically what Luke was to people in the expanded universe books, a functional Jedi Master in their prime, not the beginning of their adventure, not necessarily. It's not 45 years later and old Rey going, huh, boy,
Right.
It's Rey in her prime. It's maybe midlife crisis Rey, but not later in life crisis. Maybe this is, Rey as young parent.
Yeah.
This is Rey with a mortgage and a teenager, it's a different part of life, and we haven't seen. We've maybe Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars is the closest we've got, but he wasn't the main character. That journey, that challenge wasn't the focus. That's what I'm so excited about.
Yeah,
well said.
That's a great way, and I'll get your thoughts on that, Jen, too. But that's kind of where my heart's been going a week or so after the announcement. Is we didn't get that chance with Luke outside of the books, right? Which are pretty powerful, and people have strong connections to them. Which is also why when Episode 7 shows up and 8, and there's a different take on it, I understand where that level of maybe disappointment and even frustration came from. The other stuff that exploded out after that, we've discussed for years, but I get it. And I think it's a wonderful, rare opportunity to, hey, we established this era, 7, 8, 9, this character among other characters. We'll talk about that, I think, but other, and now we get to go forward. And we get to go forward now, whenever 2025, 27, 29. I don't know. Whenever this movie comes out, we get the chance to go forward. And exactly what you're saying, Joseph, to see this character progress and naturally in our own time, right? In our own era. We, as if George decided in 1993, you know what? Episode 7 sounds good to me right now. You know, and we had a younger Mark Hamill at that time with a Luke Skywalker in that era. Now we're getting a lot of that with the New Republic era and the Mando-verse, of course. But we get to do this, and we get to do this with the performer that we all rallied behind, and so many of us love, and so many of us are influenced by, and that was great. And the other side, with Sharmeen, I think you're very, very right, Joseph. This is why some of this news was absolutely out there as rumors about what they were going to say and what they were going to announce. We totally understand that, but I think sometimes with that, the way that the news is discussed, and I've said this before in other places, the way it's kind of weaponized at times against even the fandom or Kathleen Kennedy or Lucasfilm, that's a whole other thing. Now to actually get it, and here's the news, and it is official. Yeah, maybe some of the rumors might have been roughly right, but now we get the end result is more important to me. And you get this director and this storyteller and this documentary filmmaker, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, who has something to say. And there was this great little interview with Kristen Baver and Kathleen Kennedy. Again, I was just catching up on all the interviews I missed. Kathleen's been asked this before. I think she said this kind of stuff before, but Kristen Baver said, hey, as the eras go on and new filmmakers come on, what do you look for? And Kathleen kind of addressed, a lot of them are Star Wars fans. Yeah, that's kind of where we're in. But the second question I asked them is, what do you have to say? And that is what it's about, is what Kathleen said. It's always about that. And to your point, Jan, I think there's some stuff about the conflict might come from within, not necessarily the Jedi, but maybe the government. I keep looking at it as, there might be dark side users, but it just might be another form of the dark side, bureaucracy, people who are supposed to change. We don't know. We're so far out from it, of course. I do think there'll be someone that looks evil and bad and maybe a cape, of course. But I think it's a different take on it because Sharmeen has something to say about it. And that's why I'm really excited. A week later, a lot of plane flights to think about it. That's where I'm at with it.
I love that. It totally changes my whole perspective, because I was believing that narrative that we saw in the news, which is what, Damon Lindelof, but it makes sense. Of course, it's her vision. She is the freaking director, right? I mean, and we look at all these directors and they all have a very specific vision, point of view, whether it's Leslie Headland, whether it's Rian Johnson, whether it's, they all have their thing that they want to say about Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni. And that's why I love this era of Star Wars, and that's why we love George Lucas, right? They're not just going to hire just some person to come and execute this, that they're hiring creators who are passionate, who are storytellers. So I'm on board. I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. And one again, Kathleen Kennedy said something again that I know she said before, but it's just when you're watching something and you're thinking about the news, we're going to discuss it. She's like, one of the last things George told me is these stories have to matter. And of course that makes sense. Yes, you're telling stories, but I over the course of history, blockbusters, there's been art out there that doesn't seem to matter as much, right? I get it. But Star Wars always has a punch to it, an emotional punch, and I'm excited about that there.
Yeah. Final thought for me. I know I fully acknowledge this is my second final thought, but I'm very excited about this one. I'll try to contain myself with two final thoughts. I am hopeful that this is going to be a celebration of the difficult path of being a Jedi. What I mean by that is, Leslie Headland has made some headlines by discussing the Acolyte being set in a time where the Jedi are faltering, and we're hearing the perspective of the bad guys. So it is going to be critical of the Jedi, just like the prequel era is, just like The Last Jedi spent some time questioning the Jedi. I think many people lose the thread that it affirms the Jedi by the end of the film, but it spends a good amount of time questioning the Jedi. I feel like this story might be poised to say, yep, walking the light side is a difficult path, saying I have this connection, I have this power, and I'm going to choose to use it. I'm going to choose when I need to intervene in a conflict. Of course, that's a difficult path, and you can overstep and you can abuse your power and you can become afraid and rigid and controlling and all these things that we've seen the Jedi falter. But also it seems like it's coming from the perspective of this is a fresh new Jedi Order, and take a big step back, and if you have power, you should use it to help other people. And you can make missteps along the path. But I think it's been a little while since we've really, really celebrated that positive perspective of the Jedi of course, if you have power, you should use it to help people. And now there's some of the Force that thinks we don't want these space wizards helping other people.
Yeah.
It gets me excited that it could be a little bit more of a celebration of the Jedi.
Yeah. And hopefully more to come. One, not final thought, but maybe one final thing in this. I do want to get Ben's opinion on this. And Joseph, I think you and I touched upon it a little bit. Maybe it's a chance to talk more about it here. It's what I'm calling the Finn factor. And immediately there was a call for, hey, great. Well, what about Finn and his Force abilities? And we saw in the Lego holiday special, he's getting some training, canon adjacent as it will, but you get an idea that could be possible. And the John Boyega factor, and plus we're kind of in his home in a sense, right? A lot of Boyega fans there, as there should be. So that came up, and I think Joseph, and help me if I'm missing something that we said, but we both kind of have the perspective. Never want to speak to you, but the perspective of, hey, yes, absolutely, that'd be wonderful. But maybe check in on him and see where he is with it, and see where he wants to be with it. He shared some real hard truths about his experience. He's also said several times, I'm a fan. I'm watching the shows because I've always been a Star Wars fan. So there could be a path forward. Daisy comes back to a story that brings her back, right? I don't think her as an actor, as an artist, would just come back. This is not a paycheck that she needs to cash. I don't know her finances, but I'm guessing she's going to be okay if she doesn't do this. But a story brought her back, and something. If Finn's going to be there, it would be Boyega's decision to me, right? To say, I want to go back into this, and this is a lot. And I try to be respectful because, a lot of times I've even experienced it recently with some frayed friendships and frayed former colleagues and business associates. And y'all out there might not know, and you might tweet me, hey, how come are you going to go on that show? Or, hey, are you in this picture together with this person? Why aren't you there? And it's like, hey, how do I politely say it's a tough time for both of us? And that connection isn't what it was or what you think it is. And I just look at Boyega and go, I want to make sure, John wants to come back before I tweet hashtag where's Finn or something like that. Overall thought. But Jen, we want to get your thoughts on there. But Joseph, I also never want to speak for you. Am I relatively close?
I think so. I think the thing for me is patience. I understand if John Boyega does want to be back, because I think that is the first thing. He has been saying more positive things lately, but he was honest about some up and down with the experience. So the very first thing is, does he want to be involved? If he wants to be involved, great. I understand the clamoring for Finn. I want more Finn storytelling. It is a logical thing to think, is he a part of Rey's Jedi Order? Totally. Maybe he will be, but a couple things that occur to me is we don't know the plan for these movies. We don't know if the intention is this is a one-off and we'll see where it goes. This is a one-off with the door open. They're not in the business at this point of announcing trilogies,
Right.
It's just not. It's just not that's not the way the movie business works. I would refer to the different people who have announced cinematic universes. Remember the Monster-verse?
Monster-verse, yes.
Oh wow, yeah.
It existed for a movie and a half, I believe. Anyway,
yeah.
So that what leads me to my bigger picture is the decision to say we're going to put a dot on the timeline. We're going to jump forward 15 years, which means now we have 15 years of storytelling of what could be happening with Rey, with Finn, with Poe, with Rose, with Larmadassi.
Over Dan.
Get them all in there. Yeah, exactly. Finally, the Constable Zuvio Disney Plus show.
Oh my gosh.
It gives me great hope for Finn. I really respect people who connect to Finn and want him included in this announcement. But what I hear is there's 15 years of storytelling for what happened to Finn. And maybe Finn gets his own movie. Maybe Finn gets his own Disney Plus show. That this creates more space and interest in this era. And that means the possibility of Finn.
Yeah. Love that. All right. So Jen, the talking hammer is now yours. The Finn. Go for it.
Yeah. No, I think you're both so right. And I think John Boyega, he's not going to come back if the story is not right. And I don't think they're going to bring him back unless the story is right. Everyone is on the same page with that. And I think you're right. I think it could be he shows up in his own Disney Plus show. It could be the second movie if this is going to become a trilogy. The possibilities are endless. They are not done with this character. I don't believe that they are, and I don't think he's done with this character either. But I think that they're gonna, they've taken this time to get the movie right. They're gonna take their time making the story right for Finn.
Yeah, no, great stuff there. Great stuff there on that one. But that's not all. That's not all the movies. No final thoughts on that one. This round, we got not more thoughts here, Jen. Let's go to the one that's maybe top of mind for a lot of folks because we're enjoying another season of Mandalorian. We got Ahsoka coming. This Dave Filoni directing a big picture. He's going to the pictures. He's going straight to the pictures, kids. A cinematic, climactic event from the Mando-verse in this kind of definitely not newly branded, but this really the emphasis on the New Republic era. Your thoughts on this one, Jen, as well?
I'm really excited for this one as well because it just makes sense story-wise. They've been planting the seeds in The Mandalorian, where we're seeing the cracks in the New Republic, the problems, the flaws. And for me, it's actually been the storyline that I've been most interested in seeing. I think it was 2 episodes ago where it really, or maybe 3 episodes ago, it really felt like a spy thriller. There's just so many possibilities. Could this be where we also get that Avengers style Mando-verse team up that I've been randomly speculating about? I don't know, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see that Dave Filoni is in charge of this. He really knows how to mesh the lore with the love of Star Wars and the fun and the adventure. He's so great at that. So yeah, this was very exciting news.
Very exciting news indeed. And I still don't know. I'm excited. The excitement's grown a week out of just like, I'm watching the show. I can't wait for Ahsoka. I'm more excited for Ahsoka than I've ever been coming out of Celebration. Love the stuff I saw and heard from it. I just don't know what this might be. And that's fun for me. That's exciting. And yeah, Dave clearly read Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising. How much of that is going to be pulled in and all those kind of things. As far as the Avengers side of it here, I think it was, and I want to make a correction on our final episode at Celebration. I had half looked at some news and attributed a quote to Dave Filoni that was actually, again, from Kathleen Kennedy when asked about this Avengers style movie. She said, well, that's not exactly what I would call it. Some people, might be there type of thing. And I had a lot of fun thinking that was from Dave, and I'm sure Dave probably has that thought too. But it was from Kathleen, so I want to make sure I give her credit where credit is due. But anyways, I'm excited about the great unknown, even a week out, even though I'm watching the show and I think I might know where they're going. I really don't. And that's kind of,
Yeah, I think the biggest question for me is how much story is being told in these Disney Plus series. Obviously, the Ahsoka trailer we'll talk about, but she does the direct Thrawn might return as some heir to the Empire.
Wink.
Wink.
Yeah.
Force wink.
Yeah.
So how much of I think that made people excited for the Ahsoka show is dealing with the Thrawn threat. But then what I believe Filoni said on stage is that the film is a New Republic showdown with an Imperial remnant. The official text from Lucasfilm, the summary on the old website says Dave Filoni's film will focus on the New Republic and close out the interconnected stories told in The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and other Disney Plus series. So I think wooga, dangerous speculation, because I think all of us are going to Avengers. We had a bunch of conversations, Jennifer, with people about that at Celebration of who else is going to be there. I'm obsessed for some reason with Boba Fett standing there and Zeb shows up and Boba Fett's like, who the hell's this? I don't know why I'm obsessed with that team up, but I think other people are direct adaptation of Heir to the Empire, and I feel like we're all seeing little threads and we're pulling them real hard.
Yeah.
What's being said is it is a culmination of the interconnected story, and the focus is the New Republic. So to me, what I hear is Filoni's film will most likely be about the storytelling threads that are about this era of rebirth, of trying again, about some successes, some missteps. And if it is the New Republic versus the Imperial Remnant, and it's not necessarily a full-on war, but a pretty big conflict, I think it could be the kind of storytelling that helps us understand the psychology of when the First Order does start to emerge years later, that people are like, no more. we don't want conflict. We don't ever want to hear the word empire. We don't want to believe it's happening. We don't want to believe it's happening. That's always been the kind of idea, the resurgence of the ancient evil, not even ancient, but like a lot of the real life history of between World War I and World War II of like, yep, a lot of things going not great over there with the Nazis. We're sure he's just saying that awful thing to get attention and get elected. We're sure he doesn't actually mean that.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a generation slaughtered over this conflict. It was the war to end all wars. Let's not do this again. So I'm really interested in that. If it's a big conflict between the New Republic, hey, maybe Zeb and Boba Fett show up. Maybe Din or Ahsoka are the main character. I don't know. But I'm interested in that. It's a conflict between the New Republic in a big Imperial remnant and big enough to be a movie.
Yeah.
Big scale, right? That's what I'm interested in. And I'm trying to focus on that because that's a concrete thing that's been said that it's about, and not start picturing Avengers portals.
Boba Fett flying in, right? And that circular shot of Ahsoka, all of them. Grogu.
They all land.
Face.
All 8 of them land on a hill, which, by the way, are very fun shots in Avengers movies and everything. This isn't a diss at those at all. It just,
I love it. It's fun.
I screamed my head off. It was successful. It was extremely successful. Therefore, it became iconic, and things that are both successful and iconic can become easy to parody.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's, to me, what the portal scene is about. I want to hear about Black Chrysanthemum growl and reveal that he's saying on your left. Great.
I love that. I even thought about Chrysanthemum showing up. Santy going to be there too.
Oh man, I can see it.
Especially with his new improved figure. A lot of thoughts and more to come on this movie here, I'm sure. But in the sake of moving on, Jen, James Mangold, old Jim Mangold, man, this guy's got an energy that is I'm on board with. He seems grumpy in the most entertaining ways, which I respect. He will write and direct a story set 25,000 years before kind of the eras we're familiar with, about the dawn of the Jedi. The dawn of the Jedi, the beginning of the Jedi, has been something that's been around for a bit. Straight up had heard this is kind of where Benioff and Weiss might have been going for their project. Truth of that, who knows? But this has been floating around because it just makes a lot of sense. But it seems like, and again, Celebration's kind of crazy. It's crowded. I'm thinking about where my next long sandwich is at. There's a lot of stuff I haven't thought about. Think about it a week later. Joseph, am I wrong? And I was going to go get I didn't ran out of the recap time. This was something specific to James Mangold on the set of Indy, going, talking to Kathleen Kennedy, going, hey, I have a thought. Have we ever explored this kind of stuff? And I love that angle of it. So it's a movie idea that, this has been around. This makes a lot of sense, but it's someone's specific take on it. That's why I'm very excited a week out from what old Jim Mangold's going to do in Star Wars.
You're not wrong. The upper crust sandwiches are the best sandwiches in the world. No, I was so happy to share those with Ken, because I didn't know if that store would still be there. Anyway, about the Jedi. Yeah, he talked about it passionately, and I think what Kathleen Kennedy has said consistently for a long time about, we want people to tell Star Wars stories. We want to be respectful of the legacy, but we also want to push into the new, and we want these to be personal. The Star Wars films were personal to Lucas, and that was so clear in the presentation in the introduction. Like we talked about, Charmin Obed-Chinoy really talked about that perspective of, I think Star Wars is about oppression and the constant battle. And Filoni didn't really say a lot, because we know why Filoni loves Star Wars. This open long scroll of reasons Filoni loves Star Wars. But Mangold really described it as like, I was really interested in this era, and this story popped into my head. And talked about the kind of old biblical epics of, the 50s, 60s, and 10 Commandments, and this idea of the Force as a religion and how it could help in a chaotic time. So all of that really did feel like, not like I got an assignment. It felt like it was totally coming from his beating heart, the movies he grew up in and was fascinated by. and that was powerful and interesting. And I agree with your take, Ken.
Awesome. Okay, I wasn't wrong. Okay, was it a fever dream? I couldn't remember. But Jen, we're going back in time. What do you think about this Mangold project?
It's really specific that he said that it's a mixture of Ben-Hur and the 10 Commandments. That is so specific. I immediately can start kind of envisioning what he's envisioning. And it makes me wish that the Cinerama Dome was still around. Maybe it will get back in business because I think, what did I see? Did I see Ben-Hur there? Was it Spartacus? I can't remember. My dad,
Spartacus.
Yeah, my dad took me. He's like, you have to see this on this screen. It will blow your mind. And it did. And if they can do that with Star Wars, holy shit, can you imagine the epic scenes that they can have? The people who would maybe want to follow these Jedi, these magical beings, right? Who have these magical powers in their mind. So fascinating. It also makes me fascinated that he's in the midst of making this big movie and he's like, I have an idea. Like you guys are saying, right? I mean, this is a guy who's he's a real artist, real storyteller, and he's coming up with these epic ideas. You got to shoot your shot when you get the chance. And I love that he did that.
Yeah. And this is a guy that, I think Joseph and I, talked about, like, I'm not super familiar with his long Rolodex of achievements, but his IMDb resume, but I am a big fan of Logan. And I was excited for some of the rumored projects his name was associated with in the past that he'd straight up would deny. Boba Fett movie, I'm not doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah. I don't know, for someone like him, it is similar. And there's times where I've had some issues with the Tony Gilroy, cult of Tony Gilroy factor. I have to admit that, but I like that an artist like him is like, oh yeah, I wasn't fan stars, but I'm playing around with this world. But the fact that James Mangold had such a seemingly good time on Indiana Jones, we're going to talk about Indiana Jones. I got to see 6 minutes of that film. I'm so excited for it, for him to be like, this was fun. I want to do more. And I got this idea. What else you got for me? Like there seems to be confidence in his involvement. And yes, we always put the caveat out there. Things change. You can even do a nice emotional promo video and the movie doesn't get made. We've learned. But I don't know. There's just something about all three of these projects that I said in London. I'll say it now. There seems to be a confidence behind the announcement this time that I'm excited about.
Yes. I just want to say one last thing. James Mangold, I just learned this. He directed and wrote Girl Interrupted, the Winona Ryder, Angelina Jolie movie. Fascinating. I love that movie. So it's really cool.
I own it on digital video disc, which was a format.
Oh, wow.
That's funny. Yeah. See, sometimes I just don't pay attention to that stuff as much as I used to. So that's fascinating.
Right.
Great
Exactly.
Good stuff.
Well, that's my evening sorted. Great movie and great use of the song Old 55. All right. Well, more to talk about here. The new Ahsoka trailer is here. Now we got to see an extended version with some stuff in the convention, but the public is shared pretty much the same trailer outside of a few select shots and revelations. But we've got orange red blades in the hands of two new villains, Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera, and so much Star Wars Rebels imagery, including Professor Wang, who is ready to help Ahsoka build it all again. And Lars Mikkelsen is confirmed as Thrawn. That's a lot of information, Jen. How did you take it on CouchCon?
This one this one gave me chills. Seeing Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera, great casting. The music is really powerful, and the whole trailer kind of felt dark, which I like. But I did show it to my 7-year-old, and she loved it. She wanted to watch it a second time. And I think the reason why gave me chills and why I think she really enjoyed it is because there were so many different types of powerful women, not just the heroes, but also the villains. And that is exciting. That's the kind of representation that I want to see is not, women can be not just martyrs, but they can also be these wonderful badasses and villains. And my daughter loved the Lothcat that was in the little, or was it Lothcat? Yeah. Right. She loved that. But very, very excited for this one. And I had to look up the actor who's one of the antagonists. I thought it was Pacey from Dawson's Creek. Joshua Jackson. I was like, he looks a lot older than I remembered him.
Ray Stevenson.
Not him.
I can actually see that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was my bad. But I love the World Within Worlds artwork and the title sequence. And it made me realize, I was like, ooh, yeah, if people, and I'm going to rewatch it again, Star Wars Rebels, Clone Wars, all that stuff is really coming into play. And I saw a few people online that were like, oh shoot, I better catch up on that stuff because it's making its way into live action.
I believe Filoni said on some panel, confirmed again, like, of course, there's stuff here from Rebels and Clone Wars, but you don't have to watch them.
Right.
You can, much like Mandalorian, like you can watch the show and go, who's this Bo-Katan? It's not like you're not understanding what's happening on Mandalorian. It just fills in, supports it all.
No, absolutely. No, good stuff. And yeah, again, this is kind of the week out temperature check of it here. I'm with you, Jen. I said this on our episode in London, but like I got emotional during this trailer, and it had something to do with seeing the baddies, seeing Ray Stevenson and Ivana Sakna's characters revealed, and Shin and Balon, and there was something about that made it epic. So I don't know. I can't fully explain it. It got me, and it was about just the Star Wars galaxy and having characters like that need to be taken down, and that this isn't. I try to say this respectful because I'm in the middle of a Rebels rewatch because I love that show and I can't wait for the search for Ezra. Cannot wait for it. But this is beyond that. And I never doubted that it would be beyond it. I just didn't. Rebels 2.0 made sense, yes, but that couldn't just be the whole purpose for this to me. And to have that kind of confirmed, I think is what got me. That trailer. And with Kevin Kiner's music, which is part of it, Kevin Kiner and the Kiner brothers going to be putting together this music, and it just makes a ton of sense for them to continue this next part of the journey with Dave on this character. But I don't know, it just was that sweeping Star Wars feel that came over me, and it was about seeing the bad guys, seeing the villains, which just made it great. And then as we know now, intentional orangish red blades. We were joking that in the convention hall, I don't know, it seemed red and everyone thought it was red because you don't have time to think otherwise unless you see it right away, and I just did not see it right away. But that's exciting too. Synthetic blades, are they something different? There's some callbacks to other maybe Star Wars publishing information. I know that's a lot of theories out there. All will be revealed in time. But a week out, Joseph, that's where I'm at. So excited for this, which is I was already happy, but I was surprised to my level of excitement.
Yeah, this was a great perspective check because, when you're in the room, as we were lucky to be at Star Wars Celebration, or even if you're just at CouchCon and you're absorbing news hit after news hit in a great way, it's different than like if this trailer had just been announced, randomly released on a Tuesday, right? And I hadn't taken the time to sit and just really, really watch it, and I got even more excited. I was already excited for it, but it was great to just sit and absorb just this and no other Star Wars news. And one of the things that really spoke to me when I first saw it, and I think it's even more powerfully there, is, yep, this is featuring Rebels characters. This is the search for Ezra. I think those Rebels characters are going to be well served, but there's no doubt this is the Ahsoka show. And the way this trailer centers Ahsoka and specifically centers this idea that it starts with, something dark is coming. I know it. I feel it. I get the sense that Ahsoka is in this dark, confused time, but going back to the core of Ahsoka, but there's a problem. There's something dark. And if nobody else is going to do something about it, I have to. And that's what she always comes back to in wrestling with this core of, is she a Jedi? What should her path be? If people need help, I go help them. That's it. That's my whole philosophy. And the way that trailer seems to reinforce that there's this rising problem. Seeing the orange-red baddies just, cruelly taken out, New Republic officers, and knowing that Ahsoka is going to fire up those blades to face off against them is really exciting to me. And then, Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, this is the thing that buzzed just over my head, and maybe some people will gasp and spit out fluid. I was so taken with all of the Rebels stuff, of the orange red blades. I hadn't fully absorbed in that scene where Ahsoka is facing off against Balin. The backdrop is a Mortis world between worlds like space, and there's sort of excavation like machinery, like floodlights and equipment in the background of that space. So, between Mortis in Clone Wars, War Between Worlds in Rebels, I'm so interested in Filoni continuing to explore that part of the Force that he really likes, of the very weird, very mysterious. Anything is possible through the Force. There are ancient spaces that can't fully be explained and understood.
Mm-hmm.
You embrace them up to the point that you can embrace them. But to me, the point of Mortis in the World Between Worlds is we can absolutely understand the thematic lessons. We can understand what our known characters go through, but they are otherworldly. They are more than we can possibly know. And that's really interesting and exciting to me, that we might be encountering another one of those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah, I finally I watched Alex Damon's wonderful Star Wars Explained breakdown. He finally was like, let me just do an old style frame by frame breakdown of the trailer. It was very helpful to me. So Alex, if you're listening, thank you. Because you just don't get a chance to do that for a lot of great reasons, by the way. It's not like you're like, I'm lost at Celebration. You're like, that was great. Let's go get a pint and a action figure. Let's move on to the next thing. So that happens there, but you all know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so before we take a quick break, we want to at least look at something else that was revealed. We mentioned it. Indiana Jones, he's definitely back. We know June 30th, Indiana Jones 5. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is out, and we got the full final trailer. We were privileged to see about 6 minutes of the film, big action sequence. I am in love with that sequence, and was even having dinner last night with our buddy Mark Ellis, who's a big indie fan, and he just was like, well, how was it? I don't want to know details, but how was it? It's great. So excited for that. Excited for what we're getting. Jen, what's your thoughts here on Indy 5 and the news to emerge from that and the trailer itself?
Oh my gosh, this was really special. I was surprised by how moved I was after watching this trailer. It felt like a true blockbuster from back in the day that you have to see in the theaters. This is we love streaming shows, but this is one I got to be in the movie theater with a popcorn in hand and a Diet Coke. Harrison Ford, I'm shocked. He is so present and active, and I'm sure that there's a lot of things happening at conventions and things like that, but he definitely seems older in interviews and things like that, right? Boy, I don't know what he did for this movie, but he is he is indie, and he still got it. It's just incredible. I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a great addition. And even though there's a lot of action, and I would love to see that sequence that you guys saw, I think it's really the emotional through line of these characters that is what's going to make it a true hit. It has everything. Oh, I can't wait. I was surprised by how excited I got.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was like, did we drop out?
I had my mic muted for the sniffles in my nose and my snoot. But yeah.
I was just trying to be respectful and let Ken jump in there.
Awesome. No edits there. Love that. I'm without a doubt going to be excited. I'm someone who has recently revisited Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I absolutely like so much of that movie. And there's some things that don't work, but I think it's an indie movie, man. And I love this character. We're having so much fun just launching the Perilous podcast series on the Patreon page. And it's been fun to dive into this character. In fact, watched Last Crusade twice, flying to London and flying back.
Wow.
Love it so much. So this is, I'm just excited. And yeah, Harrison looks great. He even looks young in some shots. Oh, wait. some technology coming into play here. Interesting. I'm excited. And I have an indie hat. So I usually don't get invited to premieres, but if I do, I'm wearing it. I think I got to wear that hat. I'll be one of many, I'm sure. But Justin, your thoughts a week out from Indy 5.
I will be chasing down some Indiana Jones action figures. That Forbidden Planet Megastore in London was it was an absolute place of bliss and a place of torture because they had all the Indiana Jones figures just hanging there on the shelf.
Wow.
No pre-orders, no internet. I held 2 of them in my hand and tried to decide, but I only had so much room left in my heist action figure carry-on bag. So it pains me to put down Indiana Jones, but I'm getting an action figure and taking it to the premiere while you wear your hat if we get to go.
Love it.
Yeah, it was really, this trailer was also really great to just sit and watch this morning and just absorb. It's a powerful trailer. I think it's one of maybe the better constructed trailers that I've seen because it does totally put across the blockbuster. But it back to the 80s popcorn and Diet Coke time, which is great. But it is so well constructed to let you know the emotional stakes of the film. Exactly. It is a review of who Indiana Jones has been, what his life has been. There is a sense of his legacy being at stake. Everything in the beginning is this great sense of Indiana Jones is a person out of time, which I think all of us feel as we get older, but particularly as we reach the end of our lives, and the world has just changed so much. I've certainly, known older people who are like, yeah, I'm good. That's just, I'm out of this world doesn't make any sense to me anymore. The Rolling Stones are playing. Yeah. There's those clips of him being around people excited about space exploration, and you get this idea of like, if he was 40 years younger, he'd be like, wow. But he's been an archaeologist. He's been digging into the past and the earth for history. And now all the kids want to go into the new and the sky. He's riding a horse in a subway station. Yeah. It is so about a person reaching the end of their journey in the world changing around them. There's a great John Wayne movie called The Shootist, where he's kind of trying to hang on to the old ways. And there's a shot near the end where the world's changing and he walks by a car and there's just a look on his face like, I'm ready to die. I don't know what this is, and not that India is negative about that, but it's like, it's the end of the journey and it's looking back. Yeah. And then this great energy from the goddaughter character, Helena, right? Yeah. Helena. Yeah. In her dialogue, and no spoilers from the clip we saw, but it's there too. But in the trailer, it suggests that she's really aware and reckoning with what is the hunt for objects. There's the joke in there about, well, you stole it from me. You stole it from me. Yeah. And then I stole it from you. It's called capitalism. But a sense that there's going to be reckoning with what is the role of archaeology, what is theft, what is preservation, and then the supernatural being referenced too. Of Indy goes through his adventures and like pretty practical guy, good with a horse, good with a gun, good with a book, and then sometimes they're ghosts. Right. And the fact that he's reckoning with that too, and the movie is reckoning with that. Of I've seen things, been tortured with voodoo. It's just this great checklist of what makes Indiana Jones special, and feels like the movie is saying we're going to reckon with all of it.
A reckoning is coming. Yeah, excited. Yeah, landing on the moon. I met interdimensional beings. What are you talking about? There you go. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We are going to come back with some more Celebration news. We'll roll through it there. Before we do, we have a ForceCenter recommends, an audiobook we think you and perhaps even us should try out on us. What do we have?
Let's try out Battle Scars, the book that's staring me in the face. Let's see if we can read it before the video game that it's setting up comes out. Excited to check that one out.
Yeah, check it out. Download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. All right, we'll be back after this quick break to discuss more Celebration news. Welcome back to ForceCenter. Looking at the news, we got Celebration news that we didn't get to, or maybe took a quick swing through on our final episode. So we're here, and Jen, of course, we want you to take most importantly, Bad Batch will be back for a third and final season. We did get a little bit of a chance to discuss this. It was a pleasant announcement, not quite a surprise. This made a lot of sense. There was some doubt. You never know. The landscape of streaming, animation. It would be the first time an animation show's maybe been shelved when some stuff was done, or video games or movies. We've seen this before. But to get the official announcement that it is back, but it is also the final season. Something that I personally kind of enjoy in a way, meaning that these storytellers are going to get to tell their story completely, and that's kind of comforting. But Jen, your relationship with the Bad Batch, the 3rd season, and the final season, thoughts on that?
I'll keep it brief. I need to get through the 2nd season. I've only watched, I think, 1 episode. It's terrible. And I know that something really big has happened. Right? I don't know. It's fine if you spoil it. I'm accepting my fate. But it's one where I was like, oh, I'll catch up with it. And then I haven't, but it's on my list, especially just judging from how excited people were that the season 3 has been announced. I'm like, all right. And I mean, I love the first episode that I saw back, but it's just a matter of time.
Fair and great, honest answer there, Joseph.
Yeah, just very excited for this. The 2nd season does end on a cliffhanger. That's the only spoiler I'll say. So I really, really wanted the completion. I wanted to spend more time with these characters because I think the era is great. I think the storytelling is great, but the characters are just also fun to spend time with. I don't think this is a spoiler because it's the thematic. I feel like this show has been building toward not just telling the story of these clones, but really telling the story of the clones. They were honorable people. They were unique in the Force, and they were used as pawns. So we got to root for them in the Clone Wars, but with an asterisk because we knew they were being used. Now they're totally free to make their own choices, and I feel like ultimately this show is going to be this great 3-chapter, 3-season story of the clones as a group making their final choices of who they want to be. And then obviously several of them continue into Rebels, and still plenty more storytelling to do, but it really feels like let's honor the clones, and I'm excited there's going to be a complete story that does that.
Yeah, and this series all the way through it, but definitely in the beginning had this thing that you and I kept saying on our reviews, Joseph, of a tour around the galaxy at the time of this switch in regimes, the oppression kind of hitting, and I think it did do that and asked our characters and ourselves of who are you in that and the changes. But at the end of the day, this is really turned into this that theme is still present, but it's turned into what you're saying, like this big kind of issue of the clones in Star Wars, story-wise, plot-wise, theme-wise. Let's tell that story. Let's maybe put a tragic and sad bow on it in a way, and maybe some of the characters, like you said, absolutely go on, and maybe there's more things to deal with. But the big picture of it, it's important to the Star Wars story, especially because, the clones, I don't know, pretty big in terms of the Star Wars storytelling. they're spotting it. So we don't know when it's coming back, if I'm recalling, right? 24? Was it 2024?
Yeah, I did try to do kind of a wrap up of what was actually announced for timeline. And Bad Batch Season 3 is 2024. Acolyte is confirmed 2024. Ahsoka, August. Skeleton Crew, I could not find accurate, solid Lucasfilm said 2023 or 2024. So I think Skeleton Crew, maybe I missed it, but I think that one is still not. It's rumored. I don't think Lucasfilm has said this is when it's coming out.
I do believe you're right on that. I do. We might toss some Skeleton Crew stuff in there, but I don't think a lot of it got outside of the convention or panel other than discussed. So Jen, I don't think you probably heard a lot of it, right? Okay.
No.
Especially when that becomes more where you can actually see it, not just have us tell you what it is. I'm really interested in your perspective. You are more than a parent, but your perspective as a parent is very important to us here at ForceCenter. And that this series, not just about kids, but kind of life with kids in the galaxy at this time, was one of my favorite kind of revelations talking about it. This Amblin feel down to a shot on a hill with neighborhoods and a light and kids.
Oh my gosh.
With flashlights.
I gotta see it.
I forgot to put a note here, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, Joseph's right. It did not go out to the public. So
it really captured that great wonder, terror of being young and needing and wanting to explore and seeing things that expand your perspective, but the utter fear of we don't know what we're doing. We didn't mean to do that. How do we end up here?
Oh, wow.
There are parents who are really selling the show, putting it over because the parents are terrified about where their kids are.
Oh my gosh.
And talked about, like, this is a show featuring kids, but just like some of those classic Amblin films, it's not just for kids, you know?
Yeah.
Ooh, that gets me excited. E.T.
Awesome.
is one of my most favorite films ever. So, my gosh,
Yeah.
love it.
There's some shots that just make you go, oh yeah, E.T. As well. Some stuff that did come out, and we talked a lot about Leslie Headland and the Acolyte and the reveal trailer that's not yet public. That is, if you're looking for winners of the convention, it's still my big winner. The Acolyte footage is my favorite thing to come out of the convention, but we're trying not to. We can describe it as best we can. It's not even that we want to withhold information or keep it a secret for those who were blessed to see it. It's just that I can't describe it enough to fully you all so it's good. But one of the news stories, and Joseph, I do not remember if we got a chance to discuss this, so remind me if we did. This is a High Republic show. Wasn't this pitched like that by Leslie, but they were like, hey, you want to do a show in this timeline 50 years or so before Phantom Menace? You're at this smack dab in the square end of the High Republic era. So it's being called a High Republic show. And I think that's more accurate now than I think even I thought a year or so ago. And a High Republic character, Vernestra Rowe, will be in this show. An older version of her. She is a young, I think, 16 range when we meet her?
16, yeah.
In Phase 1 of High Republic, and she'll be played by Rebecca Henderson, Leslie Headland's wife. So that was some news that was revealed at the High Republic publishing panel. So Joseph, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on this announcement and confirmation.
Yeah, I think we did talk about it, but quickly on a boat. So more than happy to revisit it. There's a great picture, I think, in the Acolyte of how all the timeline stuff works, how pitching to Kathleen Kennedy works up to a point. Leslie Headland has talked a lot about. She had this idea that, like we're talking about with Mangold and with Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, of like, I'm a Star Wars fan. This is what's interesting to me. I want to play around with the bad guy's perspective. What's it like for them when everywhere they turn, they're Jedi and their existence is sort of threatened and they're hiding in the shadows, but they want things. And the discussion being, ooh, interesting. We really like that. This is where that story should go. So that the creator, Leslie Headland, is coming at it from, this is the story I want to tell. This is the perspective I'm interested in. And then the rest of the team goes, where does this make sense? So it's a real yes and process. And that was that general process was referenced a couple times. So Favreau really complimented Filoni for doing that. Of the answer to an idea is always yes. And then there's always now how do we make it work? It can work. Anything can work, but we do have to be careful about where and when it works. So to me, the way I kind of processed it is Leslie Headland didn't go like, I'm going to do a High Republic show. It was, hey, this is where it fits. If we're telling the story there anyway, people love these books. Why not? The Cobb Vanth seal has been broken. Anything goes, That's the way it felt to me, and the fact that they held it back for the publishing panel, which was thousands of people who were like, yeah, no, the books are never going to be as big as the movies. That's just life, that our current culture, but they care. It's their Star Wars. For some people, it's the biggest part of Star Wars. So to have them be felt and seen and respected by saying, yep, it's not just a yeah, it's in the High Republic. One of the core characters, taking her from her youth to her old age in a dark time in the galaxy is a reward for readers.
Absolutely is. I have some thoughts on that, but Jen, want to get in here? I know, if I'm remembering right, High Republic is also on your list of things to find time and life for. But
yes,
here with it. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I went to the Wikipedia page for Vernestra Rowe, and it's so freaking long. And oh my gosh, I'm like, okay, all right. This is a whole community within the Star Wars community, right? And and like you're saying, this is for some people, this is their Star Wars. And I think it's wonderful that they are being rewarded in this way. And I think we probably don't have to read the High Republic to get it, but it's always helpful to have that little bit of backstory sometimes just to be able to enjoy it, just to complement your viewing experience. I love Leslie Headland's approach to this series, that she loves Star Wars, but she wants to examine the flaws, right, of the Jedi as well. She mentioned Rian Johnson. She mentioned the prequels. She gets it. And that's what we love about her. I saw a clip from the interview with Rebecca Henderson and Jodie Turner-Smith at Celebration on the live stage. And both are really excited about the project, about their roles. They couldn't say too much, obviously, but I like that they talked about the scope of the sets for this series, and how surreal it felt to be in these settings, in their costumes, on location. And I think Jodie Turner-Smith said, high budget, a lot of money went into this show. And I think that's wonderful, right? I think it's going to really show on screen. We saw it with Andor. And I can't wait. I'm really excited about this one.
I can't wait for people to see that trailer. The footage. I cannot wait. It's mind blowing. It's so good. And to hear that, we talk a little bit about budgets around here, and there was a whole pandemic thing that kind of made it hard to film some stuff there. There was a weirdest revelation. I think I heard some of this before, but like the final shot of Andor was like, I think the one way out jumping off scene or something like that. And they're like, and Tony Gilroy was directing from New York on a monitor because he couldn't be there. We're emerging from that, and the Acolyte footage. We only saw it once, right, Joseph? And I'm like dying that's it. And I don't want to go search out pirated footage. I just won't. Even though I like Gory and Shard, I won't do that. And Jen, I just can't wait for you and others to see it. And it's just marvelous. It's just marvelous Star Wars footage. It's
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it just the thrill of Jedi everywhere, lightsabers everywhere. Carrie-Anne Moss, the star of The Matrix, making you feel like it's 1999 again in The Matrix and The Phantom Menace, and that level of commitment to the action.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and as far as the inclusion of this character, it's a wonderful choice. There's a lot of characters from the High Republic that could fit in, and I think there's something of Vernestra where we meet her. She's a point of view character for me, at least in that Phase 1 era. No, Phase 2 goes back in time. So it's a great choice. I'm excited to see it. And again, one of the clips of Leslie talking on that stage with Kristen Baver, just like, I came up in an era where Leslie says Star Wars saved my life, but a lot of it was what I had was the books. I had the movies, but that was it for terms of media, other than the books and the comics and the expanded universe. And that's why she's such a fan of it. Not just that she's there to pull in things like that or characters show up. It's just that she is really respectful of that's what I had, and that's what we had. And she feels the High Republic spiritually is carrying that on in a lot of ways, even though, as she said too, we're blessed, we're spoiled with Star Wars media. High Republic seems to have that kind of vibe. New characters, different era, learning new things, but familiar stuff. And so it just made sense. She got this show, pull a character forward from it, and I have a feeling that might not be the only one. But it's a great choice, and it's purposeful, both in the story, but also just even as, like you said, Joseph, honoring that side and those fans who are engaged by the High Republic. So great decision. Another thing that emerged was Tales of the Jedi. Season 2 is in the works, with Dave Filoni bringing more stories. He just simply said, I had so much fun doing it, I wanted to do more. He's pretty busy, but these are shorts with a wonderful team behind him. So I'm excited about this. We have been talking about this, Joseph. We get questions every now and then about what other Tales of Jedi stories would we want. But Jen, we'll start with you. We don't know much yet about what will come. I don't think we even need to. Be wonderful shorts. But what do you think about this and stories we might get or that you might want to see?
I actually have no idea. I really loved the first season. I loved the Ahsoka ones specifically. So it's hard for me to imagine where they're going to jump in the timeline, right? Who knows?
Yeah, and one of the things about it is because a lot of it starts with the mind and pen of Dave. I think he's very much interested in all eras of Star Wars, but obviously has a great understanding and focus of the Clone Wars era or characters like Ahsoka and Dooku. I imagine we might not get just simple continuations of the stuff we got before, but sometimes even when imagine, and Joseph and I have discussed here in the show before, there's Luke and Ben, there's all these kind of wonderful choices that you can go to. I would like to see them go that way, but I don't know. Having not spoken with in more than one sentence drunk at Comic-Con with the man in the cowboy hat, I don't know where he wants to take him, and that's why you're right. It's hard to predict, even if you're just having fun.
Yeah, I think that I think he's interested in the genesis of the first season was I got this one idea about Ahsoka, in her village, right? And what all spills out from that. Ahsoka and Dooku can be seen to have a similar path. Let's compare and contrast them. But then on a real functional level, I feel like he's a deep Star Wars lore aficionado, and at this point, kind of a guardian in a good way of Star Wars lore. And he is the kind of creator who I think you can tell that he is still a fan. And if he did not have the opportunity to tell us what happened to Yaddle, he'd be sitting at home doing his work going, what happened to Yaddle? Why won't anybody tell me what happened to Yaddle? And he's in a position to tell us what happened to Yaddle. Right. And for me, and to show us Dooku's path, and to show us here, I know it's controversial that he adapted the novel of Ahsoka, but I think that was an important point on her journey for him to put on screen. Mm-hmm. So I think about what characters are dangling, what moments are dangling, what characters does Filoni have an attachment to, or will perhaps help buttress stories he has been telling or is going to tell. So that in mind, I think Barriss Offee is a possibility, because there is a big what happened to Barriss Offee question. Yeah. I think there's a possibility of doing something with Tar Vizsla now that the Darksaber, and this idea of Grogu as a Jedi Mandalorian. What does that mean? The idea of finally going back and playing a little bit with Tar Vizsla, maybe. Maybe there's more storytelling to be done with Kanan. Yeah. I think the fact that Filoni is with Favreau dealing with Luke Skywalker in the steps to start a new Jedi Order, I don't think Ben Solo is out of the question.
Right. Yeah. No. Yep. A lot of opportunities. We talked about previously Padme. There's a lot to be said about Padme, and I got the silly feeling that Dave, a little bit of remorse, like season 7, not a ton of her. I wanted to make sure we had some, but it just wasn't the way it worked out. So I think there's some stuff there. Like the Kanan stuff, I've been thinking more about that. There's maybe some younger Kanan, drunk cowboy Kanan that we could have met in New Dawn stuff. That era could be interesting as well. Some Kanan and Hera stuff, right? Before the family forms, so to speak. So a lot of options. Yeah.
Speaking about fans wondering where a character went or what happened to him, there's that whole Jason Syndulla thing. I don't think. I don't think it's gonna be like a. Remember when there used to be like sitcoms and they just decided to get rid of one of the kids. Like we had too many kids in the first couple episodes. One of them went up to the attic and just never came back. Don't worry about it. I think Jason Syndulla. This might be a way to deal with Jason Syndulla.
Yeah, yes. That's a good point there. More than anything, I'm just excited that more on the way. I really enjoyed them, and they're beautiful, beautiful pieces of animation. All right, quickly, here's some notes here. Star Wars Visions Volume 2. I don't want to skip over Visions Volume 2. I don't want to give that impression. I did watch the trailer. I really liked it. With Visions, it's for me just something where I sit back and enjoy it. And I see what's there thematically in the characters, and I love that there's fans around it. But I have to be honest and say I didn't engage with Volume 1 as much as others. But this trailer got a lot of people, talked to a lot of people in the convention hall for this, and people like Alex Damon, Alden Diaz, Nikki Kumar, and they were pulled in. They were emotionally grabbed by this, and having seen the trailer, I can get why. Beautiful stuff, different stuff, and funny stuff. The Wallace and Gromit team in there, right, doing some things as well. So, Jen, your thoughts on Visions Volume 2, if you spend any time with it?
I'm really excited about this one. This is the one where I usually show my 7-year-old. It's just the right amount of Star Wars for her to get into it. But there were a few shorts, like I'm Your Mother, and there was another one where I was like, ooh, if they could make this into a feature film so I can take my kids to the theaters to go watch a movie, because right now there's not a lot for kids. Super Mario Brothers, which I loved. We need more. I want a Star Wars. Why not a Star Wars movie like that, right? That would be really, really interesting. I can't wait for I Am Your Mother.
Yeah, and Joseph, help me from this. Was it our pals Alden and Nikki or someone was in there, maybe even in the press section afterwards, asking questions, and there is one of the themes running through a lot of these is the relationship to Mother, because they are aware that there wasn't as much in Star Wars. I can't remember if I'm dreaming that or not.
I think they showed the "I Am Your Mother" short, and pretty much everybody who saw it said it lived up to its title.
Gotcha.
Being aware of that, sometimes the father relationship in Star Wars can really, really get emphasized, and we've long talked about wanting and needing more stories of Mother.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
That sounded really weird the way I phrased it. I need stories of Mother.
Mother.
Please give me stories of Mother. But everything about the panel and the that short and the trailer was positive. I didn't get a chance to watch the short until this morning, and I really, really enjoyed Visions. I really enjoyed the first season. I really enjoyed Ken. I think we did 2 episodes and kind of broke them all down, and I really enjoyed watching them, diving into them. There's a couple that were my favorites, and I've rewatched those when it's like I gotta eat breakfast, but I got 15 minutes and I just want to watch something and I want to feel Star Wars. I've really enjoyed rewatching Visions as having just kind of this little bite-sized Star Wars to watch that isn't a random episode of Clone Wars that then makes me rewatch that entire season.
Right.
And this trailer is just, it's lightsabers and lots of them. I think the power of Visions is an idea is to just bring everything back to forget canon, forget how this might connect. This is just about an essential love of moods, images, core ideas, and I'm looking forward to that experience again.
I am as well. Always approach things with a wide open Star Wars heart. All right, we're going to get through this. 2 final notice. Return of the Jedi. You've heard of it. It's in this 40th year celebration. It is back in theaters. This was announced. There was a very cool poster release that we actually saw in person. Some people showed us. April 28th through May 4th in the U.S., April 28th through May 1st in the U.K. Tickets on sale, select theaters. I think there's some other regions as well. I would love to try to do this. Love to try to see it. We'll see if schedule permits. But Jen, you see that poster? And are you taking your kids to see Return of the Jedi?
Oh, I'm really torn. I really want to take them. I think my 3-year-old might be a little bit too young. There were some parts in Super Mario Brothers that made her a little scared. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm maybe I'll take my 7-year-old, but I mean, wow. I really want to see it. Maybe I'll go by myself. Maybe I'll just have a mom morning show, right? Something, because I got to celebrate this back in theaters.
Love that indeed. Joseph, same with you. You taking your action figures? You don't have kids, so taking a little man.
Yes. Quick celebration story. Molly and Alex Damon were posting wonderful pictures of Biggs and Grogu as they started their London adventures. And like, that's great. I could bring in Obi-Wan Kenobi and take him out of the package and take pictures of him places. And one of the places that Ken and myself and Grace and Sarah went was this old pub, and I tried 400-year-old pub, beautiful place, and I tried to take a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi sitting on my beer without the bartender noticing. But Jennifer, she came back in just as I was taking a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and she said, "Oh, you have a little man." And she said it like she didn't know what an action figure was. Like she'd never, like, I have no words for what that is. I why do you have a little man? So we've been referring to Obi-Wan as we're going around on our trips. I'd see something and Sarah'd be like, "Do you want to take a picture with little man?" Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I love that. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So I might take little man. Little man to El Capitan to see Return of the Jedi.
I hope you do. All right, final news story. Star Wars Celebration. It's returning in 2025 to Japan, which are the Celebration 2008, I think, was held there. So a lot of people are already asking, are we going? It's a big, solid, excited maybe. There's a lot of factors, but man, I wasn't sure if I was going to get to London for many reasons. And we got there, and it was a brilliant, wonderful time. So, we're trying, Joseph. We're trying.
Yeah. I mean, maybe has to be the official answer, but in my heart, the answer is yes. The intent is yes. It was a wonderful experience. being at Star Wars Celebration in London. And at first I was like, oh yeah, no, that's a lot. That's time. That's expense. Can we do it? And I had a little bit of Luke on Dagobah.
Yeah.
It can't be done. But to just be real honest for a second, Sarah and I were in London together when we were engaged 17 years ago. Wow. At the beginning of our lives together, living in a tiny bedsit. Didn't even have its own bathroom. We had a shared bathroom in the hall like we were in college, but it was exciting because we were starting our lives together. We loved London, and we said, we're going to come back. And life got in the way, and we just didn't for 17 years. And there was a power that Star Wars and ForceCenter is what it finally brought us back. And I'm really holding that in my heart. I've never been to Tokyo, never been to Japan. And the idea of letting Star Wars, letting ForceCenter be something that leads me and us to new adventures and leads us to places that we might not go otherwise, because that's the accelerant we need. That's the mood I'm in right now. So in my heart, it is yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thing. Yeah. So, Jen, pack up your bags now. We're going. Let's do it.
Oh my gosh. It's been a lifelong dream of mine to go to Japan. I've wanted to go, and it's very expensive. It's a very long flight. But if it can, somehow happen, that would be incredible.
Yeah. So same boat there. All right. Well, I know it's a supersized episode of news, but I always like to do the This Week in Star Wars History, looking ahead to Star Wars past. And hey, it's my birthday this week, but more importantly, it is Clive Revel's birthday. And on April 20th, the day after mine, April 20th, 1964, Andy Serkis was born. Though, of course, he'll be known forever as the man who portrayed Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, as he should, as well as King Kong and Peter Jackson's King Kong and many other things. Star Wars fans have had two chances to enjoy his work in this galaxy of stories. First, of course, as Snoke, now as Kino Loy, and Andy Serkis is enjoying his performance as Kino Loy. He had a lot of fun showing up at the convention on the big stage and people chanting One Way Out. It was the Narkina 5 costumes are wonderful, and the shirts they sold are. But Joseph, you and I both had similar actions of, this we're celebrating the escape and the one way out of it all, because it's my three favorite episodes of the series. But a lot of Imperial prisoners walking around the convention hall.
Yes, some without shoes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
God bless him for his dedication. Joseph and I are leaving, and he was walking in, no shoes. It's a cold, rainy day in London. God bless.
Cold, rainy day, stones everywhere. Yeah, and when Andy Serkis came out on stage for with the Andor season 2 group, at one point he was like, on program, and at first I was like, yeah, but like, I don't know if I want to be doing this.
Yeah, that's tough.
Oh my gosh.
Well, quickly, what are some of our favorite moments with these two characters? And here's a thought. Which one do you think we might see again in Star Wars storytelling? Or maybe it's which one do you think we'll see first next in Star Wars storytelling, Jen?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm happy that we're seeing Andy Serkis's face. I love seeing actors' faces. I've been talking about Pedro Pascal and Andy Serkis. Now he's having his moment with Kino Loy. I loved Snoke in The Last Jedi. When, in The Force Awakens, I was not really on board with the character. I loved him. I loved his scenes with Kylo Ren, with Rey. Just everything about it is he's so evil, but a modern day evil, which I appreciate. I want to see him back as Kino Loy, but how? Could there be flashback scenes in Andor the second season? I don't know. But we'll get him back somehow, or maybe Snoke. Maybe that will be the tales of the Jedi. No.
Maybe. Yeah, no, I the fact that he was there was certainly celebrating the character, but I'm happy either way. If that's his end and we don't know, and I spend our lives wondering what happened to Kino Loy, great. Or if he shows up and Andor turns around and Kino's like, I made it, I'm a general. Like I'm fine, because I was moved by the character. But here's my thought. I want to pitch it to you, Joseph. Like, especially now that we've got Brendel Hux is showing up in Mando. We got this. It's not these direct connections, but we're definitely getting into this New Republic era where maybe some answers reveal. And I just was like, I can't believe I hadn't really thought about this before, but a young Snoke with hair, like we could get him back as Snoke sooner than later.
Sure.
Yeah, I had not really thought about that, and I'd love him as Snoke, the Skywalker. I assume wrongly. Just such great delivery. Everything about that Snoke scene, all the Snoke scenes in The Last Jedi, it was written well by Rian Johnson to have him be an actual menace, but to still be in that tradition of arch over the top villains that kill you with the cruelest stroke.
Yes.
And Andy Serkis played it to give it all this realism, that was powerful to me. So I'd be happy to see Snoke back. I would be happy for Kino Loy to survive because, hope's nice. I also think that was a beautiful, beautiful story, and I'd be happy for it to be by itself. I know some people are like, is it possible that they had this one prisoner lying around and they used his DNA to make Snoke?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the revelation that will be revealed when Snoke can't swim, and everybody's like, "It's getting on." But with all the cloning story, there's cloning storytelling going on in the Bad Batch, which at this point has been written a long time ago for them to be this far in the animation process. There's cloning stories going on in the Mandalorian. Confirmation with Hux talking about Project Necromancer. So I do think we are building toward the possibility of someday seeing young Snoke and seeing if Luke gives him those scars across his head.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, see,
that's good.
Yeah, as far as some of my favorite moments, Never More Than 12 is absolutely one of my favorite Star Wars moments, as is for a lot of people, just because it was like, as you're walking in the hall, you're just like, say it, yes, and it's fist pumping in a wonderful way. And I'm with both of you. Yeah, especially after Force Awakens, I was like, yeah, okay, that's all we got. And I understand the point, and we'll see. And I just love the gold robes, the slippers, the ring, the hand on Rey's face, just the horrible, creepy vibe, and the little moments there. And his death. I love it all. So Andy Serkis, a true talent, happy to have him in Star Wars, and happy to maybe have more of them. So that is it for this week. We're out of here. Supersized catch-up news edition. You can follow us on Twitter at ForceCenter Pod, or on Instagram and Facebook. Our page there's ForceCenter Podcast. Hive Social if you want, and YouTube. Don't forget, we have a episode of Figure Fights with Alex and Molly that was released while we're in London. So catch up with that one. It's a very fun episode. And check that out on YouTube. Podcast available on Acast, iHeartRadio, and a lot of spots. Just search. You'll find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter and patreon.com/ForceCenter, so you can join and support us directly. And yes, we are so close to getting that goal of a Jennifer Landa led Happy Beeps Jedi Beeps Reborn Jedi Beat Reborn
Jedi Beeps.
Jedi Beeps. Maybe that's the name. Jedi Beeps. There you go, everybody. For me, follow me at Ken Napzok, KenNapzok.com. That's where you can get more information, other things I do, including my ASMR channel, Sports Card ASMR, my music radio show, Pop Rockin' Radio, and a whole lot more. Joseph, where can they follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social medias at Joseph Scrimshaw. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm trying to be on Mastodon. And am I trying to be on Hive? I don't know. This is a moment of truth that you're listening to. It turns from a plug into some self-examination. How many are too many? Anyway, at Joseph Scrimshaw, look for me on social media. Got some more stuff coming on my YouTube page, including a lot of not unboxing videos from all of the action figures I deliriously and happily purchased in the UK. That's it for me.
There you go, Jen. The reels, the TikToks, the TikToks, as I sometimes say, they're coming still. Where can they find and follow you?
Yes, you can find me on TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138, YouTube, Instagram, and now Lemon8, because why not, at another social media platform at Jennifer Landa. Oh, yes. It's like a new Instagram, but from the TikTok people.
Did they announce this when we're in London? There's another thing I missed. Oh, no.
Yes, they did, actually. Yes, they did. It's very like picture oriented, all photos and stuff like that.
I like pictures. All right. I'll check it out. All right, that is it this week, my friends. We'll see you soon. That is it for Force Center.